A Mafia boss's Range Rover broke down on a quiet street in the pouring rain. A fearless 7-year-old girl appeared with a pink toolbox and fixed it in minutes. He smiled, thanked her, and turned to leave. Then he saw the ring on her finger, and his entire world stopped. What was on that little girl's hand would start a war. The rain came down like bullets. Dante Moretti pressed his thumb against his temple, watching the wipers struggle against the downpour. The meeting with Councilman Hayes had been productive, 20 minutes of veiled threats wrapped in handshakes. That's how business worked in this city. You smiled, you nodded, and everyone understood exactly what would happen if they forgot their promises. "Boss, we should have taken the highway," Marco said from the driver's seat, squinting through the windshield. "Quieter this way," Dante replied. He preferred these nameless suburban streets after dark.
No cameras. No witnesses.
Just sleeping families behind drawn curtains who'd learned long ago not to look outside when expensive cars rolled past. The Range Rover coughed. Marco's hands tightened on the wheel. What was? The engine died. They coasted to a stop beneath a broken streetlight, rain hammering the roof like a warning. In the SUV behind them, Dante's bodyguards were already reaching for their phones. "Don't," Dante said quietly into his radio. "No calls. We're 10 minutes from home." "Boss, the engine." "I can't hear the engine, Bruno." Dante stepped out into the rain, his black suit instantly soaked. He didn't care. The cold helped him think, and right now he needed to think about why a $70,000 vehicle had just betrayed him on a street where every house looked identical. Marco popped the hood. Steam rose like a ghost, and both men stared at the engine as if glaring at it would make it work. "Battery," Marco suggested. "Or the alternator," Bruno offered, jogging over with an umbrella that did nothing against the sideways rain. "Want me to call Sal? He could be here in 20-inch. Dante was about to agree when he heard it. A voice. Small. Fearless. "You need a wrench?" All three men spun around. A little girl stood at the edge of the driveway, barely visible in the darkness. She wore pink rain boots and held a matching pink toolbox that looked like it belonged in a dollhouse. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. "Kid, go inside," Bruno said, his hand instinctively moving toward his jacket. "It's okay," the girl said, walking closer. "I can fix cars. My daddy taught me." Dante raised a hand, stopping Bruno. Something about her tone, confident, unbothered by 3 grown men in expensive suits standing in the rain, made him curious. "Your daddy taught you?" Dante crouched down to her level, rain running down his face. "What's your name?" "Lily." She set the toolbox down with surprising care. "You should check the battery first. That's what Daddy always says. Check the simple stuff before you panic." Marco actually laughed. "Boss, we're not." "Let her look," Dante interrupted. Lily's eyes lit up. She dragged a small plastic stool from her porch, when had she gotten that, and climbed up to peer into the engine. Her tiny fingers moved with odd precision, touching nothing, just observing. "There," she said, pointing.
See?
"The terminal's loose. The one on the right. It happens when you drive on bumpy roads. The vibration shakes it." Dante looked where she pointed. The battery terminal connection did look slightly off. "You got a wrench in that box?" he asked. Lily nodded seriously and handed him a tiny socket wrench with a pink grip. "It's small, but it works." Dante took it, feeling ridiculous. Bruno and Marco exchanged glances that said the same thing. Is our boss really taking car advice from a child? But Dante tightened the terminal. It took 10 seconds. "Try it now," Lily said. Marco, still looking bewildered, climbed back into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine roared to life. For a moment, nobody spoke. The rain continued its assault, but the sound of that engine felt like a small miracle. "I'll be damned," Bruno muttered. Dante stood slowly, looking down at the little girl who'd just done what 3 grown men couldn't. She smiled up at him, rain dripping off her nose, completely unbothered by the fact that she'd just helped some of the most dangerous people in the city. "Thank you, Lily," Dante said, and he meant it. He reached into his wallet, pulling out a $100 bill. For your time. I don't want money, she said simply. Daddy says helping people is what you're supposed to do. Something twisted in Dante's chest. A feeling he hadn't experienced in years. He was about to respond when his eyes caught it. The ring. On her right hand, middle finger, a ruby, set in antique gold, with a distinctive pattern of tiny diamonds forming a crescent moon around the stone. His sister's ring. Sophia's ring. The one she'd been wearing the night she disappeared 8 years ago. The one he'd searched for through every pawn shop, every fence, every dark corner of the city. The family heirloom that had belonged to their grandmother. Dante's hand froze in midair. That's a pretty ring, he said, his voice carefully neutral. Lily looked down at it, twisting it around her finger. My mama gave it to me when I was a baby. She said I should never take it off. Your mama? The question came out sharper than he intended. My birth mama, Lily said. I don't remember her. I live with my other parents now. The Thompsons. They're inside. You want to meet them? No, Dante straightened up, his mind racing. No, that's okay. He needed to leave.
Now.
Before he said something that would reveal too much, before the shock on his face became visible. Thank you again, Lily, he said, backing toward the Range Rover. You're very smart. You're welcome. She waved with the hand bearing the ring, and Dante felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Marco was already pulling the vehicle around. Dante climbed into the back seat, his clothes dripping water onto leather, but he didn't notice. He couldn't stop staring out the window as they drove away, watching the little girl in pink boots disappear into the rain.
Boss.
Bruno's voice crackled over the radio. Everything okay? Dante didn't answer. He was too busy remembering his sister's face the last time he saw her. Pregnant. Terrified. Begging him to let her go. And now, 8 years later, her daughter had just fixed his car. Wearing Sophia's ring. Turn around, Dante said suddenly. Marco glanced in the rear-view mirror. Boss. Turn around.
Now.
But when they circled back 2 minutes later, the house was completely dark. The porch light was off. The pink toolbox was gone. It was as if Lily had never existed at all. Dante sat in the darkness of the car, rain streaming down the windows, and for the first time in a decade, he felt something he'd thought he'd killed years ago.
Hope.
And right behind it, terror. Because if that little girl was who he thought she was, then everything was about to change. Dante didn't sleep. He sat in his study, curtains drawn, a single lamp casting shadows across his desk. In front of him lay a photograph he hadn't looked at in years, his family, taken before everything fell apart. His father, stern and unsmiling. His mother, elegant even in casual dress. And Sophia, 16 years old, wearing that ruby ring on a chain around her neck because it was still too big for her fingers. The same ring now sitting on a 7-year-old's hand. Dante picked up his phone at 3 a.m. I don't care if he's sleeping, he told whoever answered. Get Carmine on the line. 2 minutes later, his consigliera's gravelly voice came through. Dante? What's wrong? I need a full background check. Quiet. No flags, no alerts. Dante read off the address from memory. Family name is Thompson. Focus on any adoptions in the last 7 years. I want to know everything, where they work, where they bank, who they know. And Carmine. Yeah. This stays between us. Silence. Then, understood. Dante hung up and stared at the photograph again. Sophia had been 23 when she vanished. She'd gotten involved with someone Dante had warned her about, a federal agent working undercover, pretending to be an art dealer. When Dante found out, he'd given her an ultimatum. End it or leave the family forever. She chose to leave. 2 weeks later, she disappeared completely. No calls.
No traces.
The agent denied everything, transferred to another city within a month. Dante had spent a year searching, calling in every favor, threatening every contact. Nothing. Eventually, he'd assumed she was dead. But that ring told a different story. Dawn broke slowly. Dante showered, dressed in a fresh suit, and went through the motions of his morning routine. Breakfast with his underbosses. Phone calls about shipments and territories. A meeting with his accountant about the new casino project. Everything normal. Except nothing was normal. By noon, a manila envelope appeared on his desk. No label.
No sender.
Inside, 20 pages of information about the Thompson family. Dante read every word twice. Robert Thompson, 41, high school mathematics teacher. Claire Thompson, 39, nurse at St. Catherine's Hospital. Married 12 years. No biological children. One adopted daughter. Lily Marie Thompson, age 7, adopted as an infant through a private agency that had since closed down. Birth parents unknown. Adoption date, March 2018. Dante's jaw tightened. March 2018. Exactly 8 years ago. Exactly when Sophia disappeared. He kept reading. The adoption had been expedited, unusually fast. Someone had paid significant money to make sure the paperwork moved through the system, without scrutiny. The file noted emergency placement and medical confidentiality sealed by court order. Someone had wanted this child hidden. Protected. Or both. Dante stood and walked to the window overlooking his estate. His reflection stared back, cold eyes, sharp suit, the face of a man who'd built an empire on fear and loyalty. But right now, he just looked tired.
Boss.
Bruno knocked before entering. You wanted to see me? Sit. Dante didn't turn around. That girl from last night. The one who fixed the car. I need eyes on her.
Bruno shifted inconfortably.
Eyes on a kid.
Discrète surveillance.
I want to know her routine. Where she goes to school. Who picks her up. Anyone unusual hanging around. Dante finally looked at his oldest friend. And Bruno? If anyone asks why, you don't know. Dante, what's going on? The question hung in the air. Dante had known Bruno for 25 years. They'd grown up together, survived wars together. If there was anyone he could trust with this, it was him. But trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. Not yet. Just do it, Dante said quietly. Bruno nodded slowly and left. Alone again, Dante pulled out his phone and scrolled through old messages until he found what he was looking for, a contact he hadn't used in years. A private investigator who specialized in finding people who didn't want to be found. The text was brief. Need information on a birth mother. Adoption in March 2018. Girl, now age 7. Paying double your rate for silence. The response came within minutes. Send details. 1 week. Dante sent the address and Lily's adoption date, then deleted the entire conversation. He spent the rest of the day trying to focus on business, but his mind kept drifting back to that little girl standing in the rain, holding a pink toolbox, smiling like she'd just performed a magic trick. My birth mama gave it to me. Sophia had been pregnant when she left. Dante was certain now. She'd hidden it from everyone, disappeared to protect the baby from this life. From him, from the violence that followed their family name like a curse. And somehow, that baby had ended up with good people. Safe people. Wearing the one piece of evidence that connected her to the Moretti bloodline. As evenings settled over the city, Dante made a decision. Tomorrow, he would visit Lily's school. Not as a mafia boss. Not as an enforcer. Just as a potential benefactor. Someone interested in supporting local education. He needed to see her again. To confirm what his gut already knew. That little girl wasn't just some stranger who'd helped him in the rain. She was family. And in Dante's world, family changed everything. Pinewood Elementary looked exactly like every other suburban school. Brick building, tired playground equipment, a faded mural about reading painted near the entrance. Dante arrived at noon wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than most of the cars in the parking lot. The principal, Mrs. Chun, shook his hand with the enthusiasm of someone who'd just been promised a generous donation. Mr. Moretti, "We're so grateful you're considering our school for your charitable foundation," she said, leading him down a hallway covered in children's artwork. "Most benefactors overlook schools in quiet neighborhoods like ours. I believe every child deserves opportunity," Dante said smoothly. It wasn't entirely a lie. "Mind if I observe? I like to see where the money would actually go." "Of course. The children are at recess now." She led him to a window overlooking the playground. Dante scanned the crowd of running, screaming kids until he found her. Lily sat alone on a bench, reading a book that looked too advanced for her age. She'd look up occasionally, watching the other children, but never joining them. Something about her isolation made Dante's chest tighten. Then 3 older boys approached her. Dante leaned closer to the window. The boys were laughing, pointing at something. One of them grabbed Lily's book and held it high. She stood up, small fists clenched, saying something Dante couldn't hear. The boy shoved her. Dante's hand went to the window, ready to knock, to intervene. But Lily didn't cry. She swept the boy's legs out from under him with a move that looked almost practiced, grabbed her book midair as he fell, and calmly walked away while his friends stood there stunned. Dante felt a strange surge of pride. "That's Lily Thompson," Mrs. Chin said, following his gaze. "Brilliant child. Reads at a 9th grade level, top of her class in mathematics. But she struggles socially. Keeps to herself."
Why?
"The school counselor thinks she feels different from other children. She's adopted, you see, and very aware of it." Mrs. Chin paused. "She also has this old-fashioned view about protecting people. Last month, she got in trouble for confronting a 5th grader who was bullying a kindergartner. The other child was twice her size. Just like Sophia, Dante thought. His sister had always defended the vulnerable, even when it got her hurt. Does she have family nearby?" Dante asked carefully. "Just her parents. The Thompsons are lovely people, very private. They moved here from somewhere out west, I believe. Why do you ask?" "Just curious about the student support systems." Dante watched Lily return to her bench, adjusting the ring on her finger as she opened her book again. "Thank you for your time, Mrs. Chin." He left a check for $50,000 and a promise to return. But he didn't leave the school grounds immediately. He sat in his car across the street, watching the entrance, waiting for dismissal. At 3 p.m., Claire Thompson arrived in a modest Honda. Lily emerged from the building, immediately spotting her mother and running over with a smile that transformed her serious face. Normal.
Safe. Loved.
Everything Sophia had wanted for her. Dante's phone buzzed. "A text from Carmine, call me."
Now.
He dialed. "We have a problem," Carmine said without preamble. Word got out. Dante's blood went cold. "What word?" "About your interest in the Thompson family. I don't know how, but someone's been asking questions at the adoption agency. Or what's left of it."
Who?
"Don't know yet. But Dante, if it's the Giordanos." It won't be, but even as he said it, Dante knew it was wishful thinking. The Giordano family had been waiting years for any sign of weakness, any leverage they could use against him. And he just handed it to them by sending people to dig into records. "There's something else," Carmine continued. "I found the nurse who was on duty the night of the adoption. Took some convincing, but she remembered. Said a woman brought the baby in. Young, terrified, bleeding. She'd just given birth somewhere, without medical help. The woman had one request, that the baby be placed immediately with a good family, far from the city." Dante closed his eyes. "Did she give a name?"
No.
But the nurse said she'd never forget her face. Beautiful girl with dark hair and green eyes. Kept apologizing to the baby, saying she was sorry, that this was the only way to keep her safe. Sophia's eyes had been green, like their mother's. The woman died 2 days later. Carmine finished quietly. Drug overdose, according to the official report. Body cremated before anyone could ask questions. No ID ever found. The car suddenly felt too small. Dante gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. Sophia was dead. He'd spent 8 years hoping she was alive somewhere, happy, free from this life. But she died alone in some hospital after giving birth to a daughter she'd never get to raise. Boss? You there? Find out who's asking questions, Dante said, his voice flat and cold. And Carmine? Nobody touches that little girl. Nobody even looks at her wrong. Spread the word. Understood. Dante hung up and looked back at the school just as Lily's car was pulling away. Through the back window, he could see her laughing at something her mother said. Innocent. Unaware that her real mother had died protecting her. Unaware that the man watching from across the street was her uncle. And unaware that by wearing that ring, she'd just become the most valuable and vulnerable person in the city. The black Escalade appeared on Tuesday. Claire Thompson noticed it first, parked 3 houses down, tinted windows, engine running. She'd seen enough crime shows to know when something felt wrong. By Wednesday, it was still there. Different spot, same vehicle. Thursday morning, she called the police. Officer Martinez took her statement with practiced patience. Ma'am, it's probably just someone waiting for their kid's carpool. This is a safe neighborhood. For 3 days straight, Claire insisted. And yesterday, I saw the same car near Lily's school. That got his attention. Near the school, parked across the street. Same car, I'm sure of it. Martinez promised to increase patrols and took down the license plate number Claire had written on her palm in pen. What Claire didn't know was that the license plate would come back to a shell company, or that Officer Martinez's report would be intercepted by someone on Dante's payroll before it reached the detective division. What she also didn't know was that there was a second car watching, one that didn't belong to Dante. In a warehouse across town, Vincent Giordano studied photographs spread across a metal table. Lily on the playground. Lily leaving school. Lily fixing something in her garage while her father watched proudly. This is what has Moretti rattled, Vincent asked, tapping one photo. A kid. His son, Marco, not to be confused with Dante's driver, leaned against a rusted pillar. My source says Moretti's had his people digging into adoption records, paying off nurses, pulling files that were supposed to be sealed. He's spending serious money to learn about this girl. Why? Don't know yet. But he's protecting her. Got 3 of his men rotating surveillance around the house. That's the same detail he uses for his own mother. Vincent smiled slowly. In 30 years of rivalry with the Moretti family, he'd never seen Dante protect anyone outside his immediate circle. The man was a fortress, no weaknesses, no emotional attachments that could be exploited. Until now. I want to know everything, Vincent said. Who she is, why she matters to him, and how we can use her. Dad, she's just a kid. She's leverage. Vincent's voice hardened. Moretti's been bleeding us dry for 5 years. Every deal we try to make, he's there first. Every territory we claim, he pushes back. If this girl is his weakness, then she's our opportunity. Marco shifted uncomfortably, but nodded. I'll reach out to my contact at Child Services. Do it quietly. And Marco? Tell our people to stay invisible. If Moretti even suspects we're looking into her, he'll move her somewhere we can't find. Dante knew about the Giordano surveillance by Friday morning. 2 of their guys, Bruno reported, standing in Dante's office. One watching the school, one on the street near the house. They're being sloppy on purpose. They want the parents to notice. Why? Dante asked, though he already knew the answer. To flush you out. They're waiting to see if you respond, to confirm their theory that she matters to you. Dante stared at the city's skyline through his window. Every move he made now was a tell. Increase protection, and the Giordanos would know she was valuable. Do nothing, and Lily remained vulnerable. What about the parents? He asked. The mother filed a police report. Local cops think she's paranoid, but she's persistent. The father is worried too. He's been walking Lily to and from the bus stop instead of letting her go alone. Good instincts, Dante thought. Robert Thompson was protecting his daughter without even knowing the real threat. Pull our surveillance back, Dante said finally. Bruno's head snapped up. Boss, if we pull back. I said pull back. Keep one man within 5 minutes of the house at all times, but make it invisible. No cars, no obvious positions. The Giordano's are watching us watch her. I won't give them confirmation. And if they make a move, Dante's expression could have frozen fire. Then we remind them why people fear the Moretti name. Bruno left, but Dante remained at the window, his reflection ghost-like against the glass. He thought about Sophia's letter, the one he'd found in her hiding place. Keep her far from this world. His sister had died, keeping Lily away from this violence, this constant calculation of threats and power. And now, because of a broken-down car and a moment of curiosity, Dante had pulled her into the exact world Sophia had died escaping. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Ruby rings are rare, especially antique ones. Interesting that a child would wear something so valuable.
No signature. No demands.
Just a message designed to let Dante know that the Giordano's had identified the ring, which meant they were close to understanding what Lily really was.
Family.
Dante deleted the message and made a call. Carmine, it's time. Set up a meeting with the Thompsons. Tomorrow night. You're going to tell them? They need to know what's coming. And they need to know I'm the only one who can stop it. He hung up and looked at Sophia's photograph on his desk. In it, she was 16, laughing at something off camera, the ruby ring catching the sunlight. I'm sorry, Dante whispered to the image. But I can't let her get hurt. Not like you. Even if it meant breaking the promise his sister had died trying to keep. The Thompsons' living room felt smaller with Dante in it. Robert stood near the fireplace, arms crossed, protective. Claire sat on the couch, hands twisted together. Between them, Lily's school photo smiled from the mantel, gap-toothed, holding up a blue ribbon for a science fair project. Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Thompson, Dante began, choosing his words carefully. I know this is strange. A stranger showing up at your door, asking to talk about your daughter. You're not a stranger, Claire interrupted. Her voice shook but held firm. You're the man from the car. The one Lily helped. She talked about you for days. She did. She said you were sad, Claire continued. That you looked at her like you'd lost something. The observation hit harder than Dante expected. He cleared his throat. I need to tell you something about Lily's birth mother. About who she was. Dante pulled a folder from his briefcase. Inside were documents, photographs, hospital records. Her name was Sophia Moretti. She was my sister. The silence stretched like wire. Your sister? Robert's face drained of color. Moretti. As in?
Yes.
That Moretti family. Dante met his eyes without flinching. Sophia left our world 8 years ago. She was pregnant, terrified, and she disappeared to protect her child from the life she'd grown up in. That child was Lily. Claire's hand went to her mouth.
No.
No, the adoption agency said. The adoption agency lied. Or rather, they did exactly what they were paid to do, hide Lily's origins so thoroughly that no one would ever find her. Dante placed a photograph on the coffee table. Sophia at 16, wearing the ruby ring. Do you recognize this? Claire's eyes widened. That's Lily's ring. It's a family heirloom. My grandmother's. Sophia had it with her when she disappeared. She gave it to Lily when she was born, and then she made sure Lily was placed with a good family before his voice caught. Before she died. 2 days after giving birth. The official report said drug overdose, but I don't believe that. I think someone made sure she couldn't come back for her daughter. Robert moved to sit beside his wife, both of them processing the impossible. So Lily is Claire couldn't finish. My niece. The last living member of my immediate family. And right now, she's in danger because people have figured out who she is. What people? Robert demanded. Dante told them about the Giordano's. About the surveillance, the message, the decades-old war between families that Lily had unknowingly stepped into just by existing. This is insane, Robert said, standing again. We're taking her and leaving.
Tonight.
We'll go somewhere you people can't find us. They'll find you in 3 days, Dante said flatly. Maybe less. The Giordano's have resources you can't imagine. Running will only make Lily more vulnerable. And staying makes her what? A target in your mob war. Claire's voice rose. She's 7 years old. I know. Dante's composure cracked slightly. Believe me, I know. Sophia died, trying to keep her away from this. But circumstances have changed. The only way to protect Lily now is to make it clear she's under my protection. That anyone who touches her is declaring war on the Moretti family. Protection? Robert laughed bitterly. You're the Mafia. You're exactly what Sophia was running from. Yes, Dante admitted. I am. But I'm also the only thing standing between your daughter and people who would use her to destroy everything my family built. The Giordanos don't care about children. They care about power. And right now, Lily represents leverage. Claire was crying quietly. Robert pulled her close, both of them looking lost. There's something else, Dante said softly. He pulled out a folded letter, yellowed with age. I found this in Sophia's old hiding spot. She wrote it before she disappeared. I think she meant it for whoever found Lily. He handed it to Claire. Her hands trembled as she unfolded it. The handwriting was elegant but rushed. If you're reading this, I'm probably dead. Please know that I loved my daughter more than anything. I'm giving her away because it's the only way to save her. The Moretti name is a curse, and I won't let it destroy her like it destroyed me.
Keep her safe.
Keep her far from that world. Let her be normal. Let her be happy. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I loved her. Sophia. Claire pressed the letter to her chest, shoulders shaking with sobs. Robert's jaw clenched, tears streaming down his face. Dante looked away, giving them their moment. His own grief was private, locked behind years of practiced control. Finally, Robert spoke, his voice hoarse. What do you want from us? Let me protect her, Dante said. I'll keep my distance. She doesn't need to know who I am, not yet. But I need your permission to keep my people watching. To make sure the Giordanos understand that touching her means death. And if we say no, then I'll do it anyway. But I'd rather do it with your blessing. The couple exchanged a long look, entire conversations happening in silence. Fine, Claire finally whispered. But you stay away from her. You don't get to be family. You protect her from the shadows. But that's all. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, it felt like another loss. Agreed, Dante said, standing to leave. As he reached the door, Claire's voice stopped him. Does she look like Sophia? Dante turned back.
Yes.
Exactly like her. It happened on a Tuesday, during the 15 seconds when everyone looked away. Lily's class had just finished a field trip to the Science Museum. The yellow school bus idled in the parking lot while teachers counted heads and checked permission slips. Lily stood near the back, adjusting her backpack, when she noticed her shoelace was untied. She knelt down to fix it, hidden behind the bus. That's when the van pulled up. 2 men in maintenance uniforms stepped out, moving with practiced efficiency. One scanned the parking lot while the other headed straight for Lily, his smile friendly, but his eyes cold. Hey there, sweetheart. Your mom sent us to pick you up. She's running late. Lily looked up, immediately suspicious. My mom didn't tell me that. It was last minute. Come on, we need to hurry. But Lily had learned something from her adoptive father. Trust your instincts. And every instinct screamed wrong. She opened her mouth to scream. The man lunged forward, one hand reaching for her arm. A blur of motion. Someone slammed into the man from the side, sending him crashing against the van. Bruno, Dante's bodyguard, had appeared from nowhere, his face twisted with rage. Get to the teacher. Bruno shouted at Lily.
Now.
Lily ran. Behind her, chaos erupted. The second man pulled a gun. A shot rang out, deafening, impossible. Parents screamed. Children scattered like frightened birds. Bruno took the bullet in his shoulder, but didn't go down. He crashed into the shooter, and both men tumbled between parked cars, grappling violently. 2 more of Dante's men materialized, guns drawn. The van's tires screeched as the driver tried to escape, but one of Dante's men shot out the back tire. The vehicle lurched sideways, blocking the exit. Federal agents, someone yelled, but it was a lie. These were Giordano soldiers caught in the act. Mrs. Chun had Lily now, pulling her toward the bus, shielding her with her body. Lily's heart hammered so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. She'd never heard a gunshot before. It wasn't like the movies. It was sharper, meaner, more final. The fight ended as quickly as it started. Bruno stood over one unconscious man, blood soaking his shirt. The other two Giordano soldiers were face down on the pavement, Dante's men holding them at gunpoint. Police sirens wailed in the distance. "We need to move," one of Dante's men said urgently. "Cops are coming." But Bruno looked at Lily, his expression softening despite the pain. "You okay, kid?" Lily nodded, unable to speak. "Good girl. Stay with your teacher." Then they were gone, disappearing before the police arrived, leaving only the unconscious Giordano soldiers and a story that wouldn't make sense to anyone investigating. For hours later, Dante sat in the Thompsons' living room again. This time, the atmosphere was different.
No kerfel negotiations. No polite introductions.
Claire's eyes were red from crying. Robert looked like he wanted to kill someone with his bare hands. And Lily was upstairs, door locked, refusing to come down. "They tried to take her," Claire said, her voice hollow. "In broad daylight. At her school. With teachers and parents watching." "I know," Dante said quietly. "My men stopped them." "Your men?" Robert laughed without humor. "Your men were there because of you. Because you came into our lives and painted a target on our daughter's back." "The target was always there," Dante said. "The moment Sophia gave her that ring, Lily became part of this world whether anyone wanted it or not. I didn't create this situation. I'm trying to manage it. By starting a war in a school parking lot?" Claire's voice rose. "There were 60 children there, Dante. 60 innocent kids who saw guns and violence because of your family." Dante absorbed the accusation without flinching. She was right.
He knew she was right.
"The Giordanos broke the rules," he said finally. "There are lines we don't cross: families, children, civilian spaces. They crossed all of them today. That won't stand." "What does that mean?" Robert demanded. "It means I'm sending a message. Tonight. One they'll understand." Dante stood, buttoning his suit jacket. "And it means Lily can't stay here anymore. Not for a while." "Absolutely not. Listen to me." Dante's voice cut through the room like a blade. "They know where you live. They know her routine. They've proven they don't care about collateral damage. The only thing that saved her today was that I had people watching. Next time, they'll come when you're alone, when she's vulnerable, and they won't make the same mistake twice." The silence was suffocating. "Where would she go?" Claire whispered. "My estate. 30-acre compound, security that makes Fort Knox look accessible. She'll have her own room, her own space. You can visit anytime. But she'll be protected by people who know how to fight this kind of war." "She'll be terrified," Claire said. "She's already terrified," Dante's voice gentled. "I saw her face today. She understands something is very wrong. At my home. At least she'll be safe while we figure out how to end this." Robert and Claire looked at each other. That silent communication again. "How long?" Robert asked. "Until the Giordanos understand that touching her means the end of their family. A week. Maybe 2 inch. We want to talk to her first," Claire said. "Explain it ourselves." "Of course." As Dante left, he paused at the door. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Sophia wanted her to have a normal life. I failed her." "Yes," Claire said coldly. "You did." The door closed behind him with a finality that felt like a death sentence. Upstairs, Lily pressed her ear against her bedroom door, listening to everything, the ruby ring catching the lamplight as her hand trembled against the wood. Lily had been at the estate for 5 days and hadn't spoken a single word. She ate when Claire visited. She slept in the guest room with the door locked. She sat in the garden reading books, but her eyes never moved across the pages. The trauma had locked her inside herself, and no amount of gentle coaxing could reach her. Dante watched from his study window, feeling helpless in a way that no gun or threat could fix. On the 6th day, he found her in the garage. She was sitting cross-legged beside his Aston Martin, tools spread around her like a metallic garden. She had somehow opened the hood and was studying the engine with that same intense focus she'd had the night they met. "You're going to void my warranty," Dante said from the doorway. Lily jumped, then looked down ashamed.
I'm sorry.
I needed to fix something. Dante understood that feeling more than she knew. He approached slowly, like she was a wounded animal that might bolt. "What's wrong with it?" "The serpentine belt is loose. It'll snap soon if you don't tighten it," she pointed with a small wrench. "Right there." "Show me." For the first time since the kidnapping attempt, something flickered in Lily's eyes. Purpose. She explained the problem in careful detail, using words too advanced for a 7-year-old, and Dante listened like she was briefing him on a $1 million deal. "Your father taught you well," he said. "He's not my real father." The words hung between them, sharp and painful. "He's the man who raised you," Dante said carefully. "That makes him your real father in every way that matters. But I have another family too, don't I?" Lily looked up at him with Sophia's green eyes. "That's why those men tried to take me. Because of who I really am." Dante's throat tightened. Claire had asked him not to tell her. Not yet, but Lily was too smart to keep in the dark. "Yes," he admitted. "You do. Are you part of it?" "Yes." Lily nodded slowly, processing this. "Is that why you're keeping me safe?" "Because we're family." "Yes." She looked back at the engine, quiet for a long moment. Then, "Will you teach me chess? My other dad, tried once, but I didn't understand it." It was such a small request, so normal, that it almost broke him. "I'd like that," Dante said. They played every evening after that. Dante set up the board in the library, and Lily absorbed the rules with startling speed. By the third day, she was planning 3 moves ahead. By the 5th, she'd won her first game against him, through luck more than strategy, but still. "You let me win," she accused. "I absolutely did not," Dante lied. She smiled. The first real smile he'd seen since she'd arrived. Bruno watched from the doorway, his injured shoulder still in a sling. "Boss, you've got the council meeting in 10 minutes. Reschedule it. It's about the Giordano situation. They're getting impatient." "Then let them wait." Dante moved his knight.
I'm busse.
Bruno exchanged glances with Marco, both men clearly concerned. The boss they knew didn't reschedule important meetings to play board games. But Lily didn't notice the tension. She studied the board, bit her lip in concentration, then made her move. Check. Dante looked down at the board, genuinely surprised. "Well played, Uncle Dante?" The words came out casually, like she'd been thinking it for days, and only now decided to say it aloud. "Is that okay? To call you that?" The room went silent. Bruno and Marco stood frozen in the doorway. Dante stared at this little girl who'd somehow slipped past every defense he'd spent decades building. She looked nervous now, worried she'd overstepped. "Yes," he said softly. "That's okay." Her smile could have lit the entire city. The council meeting happened an hour later, and it did not go well. "With all respect, boss," Carmine said carefully, "people are talking. You've got a child living in your home, you're canceling meetings, and you've declared war on the Giordanos over a girl who isn't even." "Finish that sentence," Dante said quietly, "and you'll regret it." Carmine fell silent, but others stirred uneasily around the table. "She's a liability," one of the underbosses said. "The Giordanos know it. Every rival family knows it. They see you care about her, and that makes us look weak." "Then they misunderstand," Dante replied coldly. "Protecting family doesn't make us weak. It makes us more ready. My grandfather built this organization on one principle. We protect our own. Lily is my blood. That makes her untouchable. Anyone who doesn't understand that can leave this room and not come back." Nobody moved. "The Giordanos violated every code we live by," Dante continued. "They targeted a child at a school. They could have killed dozens of innocent people. That kind of recklessness ends now. Tomorrow, we move on 3 of their operations simultaneously. We shut down their casino, their shipping warehouse, and their construction front. We make it clear what happens when someone threatens a Moretti. That's a full declaration of war, someone protested. Yes, Dante agreed. It is. The vote was unanimous, though some voices held more reluctance than others. As the meeting ended and men filed out, Bruno lingered. You're changing, boss. The men notice.
Good, Dante said.
Maybe it's time I did. He returned to the library, where Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, a chess book open on her chest. Dante gently removed her shoes, covered her with a blanket, and for a moment, just watched her breathe. Sophia's daughter. His niece. The only innocent thing left in his entire world. And he would burn the city down before he let anyone take her from him. The garden party was Dante's idea. Not the usual gathering of dangerous men in dark rooms, but something different. White tablecloths, afternoon sunlight, the kind of event where families actually brought their wives and children. His most trusted people only, 30 individuals who'd proven their loyalty with blood. Lily wore a yellow dress Claire had brought her, running between tables with a few other children present, finally looking like a normal 7-year-old. She'd laughed earlier. Actually laughed, when Bruno's daughter taught her how to cartwheel on the lawn. Dante watched from the terrace, Carmine beside him. You're really doing this? His consigliera asked quietly. She deserves to know who she is. And they deserve to know who she'll become. The girl or the heir? Dante didn't answer. He wasn't sure himself anymore. He clinked his glass, drawing everyone's attention. Conversations died. Lily looked up from where she was examining a butterfly, curious but unworried. Thank you all for coming, Dante began. Most of you have wondered about the young girl living here. Some of you have questioned my judgment. Today, I'm going to explain. He gestured, and Lily walked over, completely trusting. He rested a hand on her shoulder. This is Lily Moretti, my niece, the daughter of my sister Sophia, who many of you remember. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Sophia left us to protect her child from this life. She died keeping that secret. But circumstances have brought Lily back to where she belongs with family. The looks varied. Some showed respect, others concern. A few held calculation. Lily is under the protection of this family, Dante continued, his voice hardening. She is blood. She is future. Anyone who harms her, threatens her, or uses her against us will answer to me personally.
This isn't a request.
This is law. Lily tugged his sleeve. Uncle Dante? What does that mean? It means everyone here promises to keep you safe, he said gently, kneeling to her level. Like family does. Oh, she smiled, then hugged him quickly before running back to play. The gathered crowd watched this display, their feared boss embracing a child, and slowly, one by one, they raised their glasses in acknowledgement. All except 3 men in the back, who exchanged dark glances. Dante noticed. He noticed everything. Later that evening, after guests had left and Lily was asleep upstairs, Dante stood in his study reviewing reports. The Giordano operations had been hit hard, millions in losses, key soldiers arrested. Vincent Giordano himself had gone into hiding. But Dante knew this wasn't over. Wounded animals were the most dangerous kind. A knock at the door. Bruno entered, his expression grim. We got a problem. Antonio, Luca, and Stefano. They left the estate an hour ago. Together. The 3 men who hadn't raised their glasses. Let me guess, Dante said calmly. They're meeting with someone they shouldn't be. Carmine's tracking them now. Boss, if they're turning. Then they've made their choice, Dante closed the report. Handle it quietly. No mess, no trail. And Bruno? Make sure everyone understands why. Bruno nodded and left. Dante poured himself a drink and walked to the window overlooking the gardens. Below, fairy lights still twinkled from the party. He could see Lily's window, her nightlight a warm glow against the darkness. His phone buzzed. A message from Claire. How is she? Happy, he typed back. She laughed today. Thank you for protecting her. Dante stared at those words for a long time. Protection had cost him 3 of his own men, millions in resources, and a war that would likely last years. And yet, watching Lily cartwheel in the grass, hearing her call him Uncle Dante, it felt worth it. His phone buzzed again. This time, an unknown number. You can't protect her forever. Eventually, you'll make a mistake. We'll be waiting. Vincent Giordano. Still out there. Still planning. Dante deleted the message and looked at Sophia's photograph on his desk. In the 8 years since she'd died, he'd built an empire through fear and ruthlessness. He'd become exactly what their father wanted: powerful, untouchable, cold. But Sophia had wanted something different for her daughter. Freedom. Innocence.
Choice.
The question that haunted him now: could he give Lily both worlds? Could she be protected by the Moretti name without being consumed by it? Could she grow up knowing her heritage while remaining free from its darkness? He didn't have answers, only determination. Tomorrow, the Thompsons would visit again. They'd been talking about a gradual transition, Lily spending weekdays at home, weekends at the estate until the threat level decreased. Normal school, normal life, but with invisible protection. It was a compromise Sophia would have appreciated. Dante finished his drink and pulled out a piece of paper, beginning a letter he'd probably never send. Sophia, I found her. Your daughter is extraordinary, smart, brave, kind. Everything you were, and more. I know you wanted her away from this life, and I promise I'm trying to honor that. But she's also Moretti, and that means something in this world. I'm doing my best to give her both safety and freedom, family and choice. I hope that's enough. I hope you'd understand. I miss you. I'm sorry I couldn't save you, but I swear I'll save her. He folded the letter and locked it in his desk drawer, next to all the others he'd written over the years to a sister who'd never read them. Outside, the city continued its nightly symphony: sirens, traffic, life moving forward indifferent to the small dramas of individual people. But here, in this mansion on 30 protected acres, a 7-year-old girl slept peacefully, still wearing a ruby ring she didn't fully understand, dreaming dreams that had nothing to do with Mafia wars or family legacies. And for now, that was enough. Dante turned off the lights and walked upstairs, pausing at Lily's door to listen to her breathing, steady, safe, alive. Tomorrow would bring new threats, new challenges, new impossible choices. But tonight, she was protected. Tonight, she was home. And Dante Moretti, the man who'd spent decades choosing power over everything, had finally found something worth more than his empire. Family,